Can you hear me now? All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Manju Durairaj, and my co-chair is Werner or Rora. And we welcome you to this research session. This is our first research session of the 2 research sessions that we have at this convention. We have the newly formed, for 1 year, the research committee of the Iosfs. And today we are so graced that we have 2 wonderful presenters. We have Dr. Raquel Pastor, and she will be presenting for us as the Visual Arts and Dance, a proposal for interdisciplinary teaching. And Dr. Olympia Agelianu will be kind of following her in person. So Dr. Raquel is going to be online, and I will read out her bio. So Raquel, I am going to introduce you in just a minute, okay? All right. Dr. Raquel Pastor has a PhD in education. She's a graduate in fine arts and qualified in Spanish dance at the Royal School of Dramatic Art and Dance of Madrid. She's a specialist in creative educational dance pedagogy. Since 2018, she's a lecturer in the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education at the Universidad Autónoma de Madrid, teaching subjects related to dance and movement pedagogy in music education. She is the Assistant Director of the Master's Degree in Education through Dance, Interdisciplinary Tools for Educational Creative Dance in Educational, Social, and Community Environments. So we welcome Dr. Raquel Pastor to introduce her research. So welcome, Raquel. And we will mute ourselves so that you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very grateful to the International Orff-Schulwerk Forum, Salzburg, and its board team for organizing this event, and to the research committee for the invitation to be here. Can you hear me? Manju, is okay? The sound?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to present the research I have developed in relation to dance and its connection with fine arts in different educational contexts. This was the topic of my PhD, Visual Arts and Dance, proposal for an interdisciplinary teaching. Defended in June 2012 in the Faculty of Education of the Complutense University of Madrid in Spain. In this thesis, we explore the idea that interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary work within arts education can become a powerful methodological tool for achieving one of its main objectives, the promotion of creative expression, as it allows us to connect the diverse perspectives offered by the arts and reflect on the dialogue among them. During the historical avant-garde movements of the 20th century, profound transformation took place in the fields of art, performance, and education. On the one hand, we find interdisciplinary performing arts projects that contributed to the modernization of the visual arts and dance. On the other hand, education methodologies emerged that emphasize a dynamic and active acquisition of knowledge, recognizing the educational importance of the body in deep connection with cognitive and emotional development. Based on this background, the hypothesis is defined as educational experiences that integrate visual arts and dance, enrich learning, and enable a greater degree of assimilation of the content and concepts related to both disciplines through a process that connects the body with perception, cognition, and emotion. Based on this hypothesis, we define the subject of study as understanding, analysis, and reflection on the common elements, areas of overlap and complementary between the visual arts and dance. And following a necessary historical and temporal delimitation of the scope, the general purpose of the thesis was derived as to investigate and reflect on the relationships, repercussions, resonances, and parallels between dance and art throughout the first two-thirds of the 20th century, with the aim of developing an own and valid interdisciplinary educational proposal. We think that creative and artistic work in education benefits enormously when it is articulated and approached from the awareness and bodily experience of knowledge, emotions, and values that we want to transmit. This leads us to think, on the one hand, that the pedagogy of movement and dance can be enriched through interdisciplinary processes in which the fine arts contribute a broad vision of art capable of encouraging the creative, expressive, and affective possibilities of learning. On the other hand, creative processes related to the visual arts can be transformed into highly meaningful and personal experiences when we involve embodied learning. The thesis is structured in three parts of four approaches to the research topic, with the first two serving as the theoretical foundations to the third. Part one is a historical approach in which we specifically address those creators interested in exploring interdisciplinary forms from creative, performative, or educational perspectives. In part two, which will focus on pedagogical approach, we delve deeper into the evolution of artistic pedagogies in order to investigate correspondences and parallels between specific teaching approaches and connections to the development of avant-garde art. In part three, which will focus on the practical approach, we define the conceptual and methodological principles that should guide the teaching of integrated arts, in this case, the visual arts and dance. This section covers the design, presentation, implementation, and evaluation of 10 educational experiences in which dance is linked to the various visual arts based on the life histories of different artists. The research was conducted using three research methodologies within a qualitative framework. First, historical research, based on the analysis of documents and bibliography sources, their synthetic processing to extract the most important conceptual constructs, and subsequently a relational analysis to connect the resulting ideas and knowledge. Second, within the field of artistic research, we employed arts-based research, which considers artistic creation as a genuine form of research, discovery, and knowledge, using art as a subject, method, and means of analysis. Third, within educational research, action research was implemented as a reflective teaching practice aimed at improving educational activity through repeated cycles of implementation involving planning, teaching, observation, reflection, and analysis of real-life situations. Historical and artistic research inspired the development of a formal curriculum proposal with 10 educational experiences based on the creative educational dance methodology and the Orff-Schulwerk approach, which constitute the experimental purpose of this research. The thesis concludes with the development, presentation, and evaluation of the teaching experiences, confirming the potential of artistic integration in education to foster more inclusive and pluralist learning spaces that allow for understanding and learning about the arts in multiple ways and from multiple perspectives. Now that we have outlined all the general elements, we will focus on the practical approach of this thesis. But first, we have a question. How can we integrate the arts through a creative process in an educational context? As Barbara Hasselbach explains, it is not a matter of putting together or adding parts of songs, dance steps, or words. The true art integration intertwines the respective art forms throughout the whole process. Now I want to show you 3 of the proposals. The first one is about Barbara Hedworth, an English sculptress who worked with simple, organic forms inspired by the nature, and from 1930 onwards, her work became increasingly abstract with pure elemental and geometric forms, but she never lost their reference to nature and its forms. The work process should start from the body awareness. They explore individually and in pairs with the body simple geometries such as the sphere, the plane, or the line, and then we look at photos of the sculptors to evolve towards more elaborate concepts such as a spiral or the whole. And after they draw partners, quickly capturing the overall shape of their bodies through geometric shapes. We encourage careful observation and the analysis of sizes, proportions, morphologies, and structures, exploring the continuous transformation of form in space, until the creative composition of group choreographies. And finally, they choose one of the drawings to transform it into a sculpture using volumes and geometric shapes. The work finishes verbalizing and reflecting on the process, the choreographies, and the sculptors created. The second proposal deals with the work of Sonia de Lanberg, co-founder of the artistic movement Orff-Schulwerk, who became interested in dance through visual art, and Vaslami Jinsky, an important dancer and choreographer of the 20th century, who came to painting through dance. We started by exploring curved and straight lines, first with the help of objects and then without them. Then we talk about the qualities of circles and squares. We associated them with adjectives, sounds, feelings, understanding the inner life of these shapes. And we introduced the two artists to start the body exploration of their paintings and establish parallels between body and musical and plastic chromatic rhythm. And then they made a creative composition of movement, and finally also drew in pairs a painting inspired by the choreography they had created. Last proposal I want to show you is dance and sculpture in balance. Through the work of the sculptor Alexander Calder, we approach the concept of balance from different complementary and interconnected perspectives: corporal, experiential, personal, structural, visual, plastic, which allow us a multidimensional knowledge. The students studied the conditions of body balance, first individually and later in pairs, also inspired by Calder's sculptors, and after we draw our partners. We introduce the concept of unstable equilibrium, playing at the stabilizing oneself by shifting the center of gravity, decreasing the support surface, changing the focus or turning around. They quickly relate the mobiles to the previous exercise carried out in pairs, and the interpretation of the mobiles will be based on group exploration that leads the pupils to connect by invisible threads to emulate the same successive and interrelated movements that give life to a mobile. Finally, they built their mobile with wire and color acetates. And to conclude this presentation, I would like to share with you some of the research results and some publications that follow this thesis. And the bibliography okay, and that's all. Thank you so much for your attention.
Raquel, very much for your presentation. I'm asking now the audience if there are questions you maybe want to ask. Yes, Andrea, I think we get a microphone here. Yeah. Hi, Raquel. Can you hear me? Wait. Okay. Now.
Raquel? Hi. Raquel, can you hear me?
Raquel, can you hear Andrea?
Raquel, can you hear me?
You need to unmute. Raquel, you need to unmute.
Raquel? You are muted?
Yes, I can listen to you a little bit, but with echo, with too much echo.
Okay. Okay. You were saying we, which means you and? Perhaps I didn't get it. The research. Who did the research? Quiero saber, ¿con quién tú has hecho la investigación? ¿Por qué dices nosotros en lugar de yo?
I don't understand at all the question. Who did the research?
Can you come here? He's coming to the mic.
I
Raquel, can
did
you hear
it.
me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now you can hear me. Look, there is an echo. I think it's because of the room. Okay, you were saying we, but we. Who
Yes.
is we? Who and?
My director, the teacher who direct the thesis with me. In Spain, we also speak about we because it's a research sharing with the director. In this case, it's a teacher of the University Complutense of Madrid. Yes.
Okay, and
Sorry.
And what were your respective roles?
Roles.
¿Qué has hecho tú y qué ha hecho la otra persona?
¿Tú puedes traducir para mí, Andrea?
Mejor Verena. Ok. Intenta decirlo en español y yo intento de traducirlo.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Andrea. Thank you so much. La directora me ha orientado a la hora de estructurar la tesis, de buscar las metodologías de investigación, buscar también los autores que construyen el marco teórico.
So you first wanted to make a theoretical framework for your thesis.
The theoretical yes, of course. And ella me ayudó a construir todo el marco teórico, buscar los autores, darle forma, pensar la estructura de la tesis.
So she helped you to build the theoretical framework and to build the whole the whole research study.
Yes. Y lo que yo hice fue toda la parte práctica, porque todas las experiencias prácticas yo las llevé a cabo con diferentes grupos de mi escuela, también algún grupo de adultos, no solamente niños. Y
Okay, so
you are the one who was practically teaching with children in
Yes.
the school you're teaching. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I'm finished. I don't know if there are any other questions. Thank you very much, Raquel.
No, thank you to you, Andrea.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Yes, I think it's hello, Rachel. Which criteria did you use to choose your artworurt?
The artist. Choose the artist.
Which
Yes.
criteria?
Yes, I understand you. In the historical framework, I study different artists, different interdisciplinary projects, and I choose the ones who, for me, is more educational, have an educational interest. Can you understand me? I don't see you. Mind you. So I select some of these interdisciplinary projects because there are many and many. And finally, I choose 10 to put in practice. And I had educational or pedagogical criteria, the ones who I think are more interesting to put in practice in the school with the children.
Thank you, Raquel.
Can I add one more question? Raquel, I just have one more question. Can you tell about some most interesting results you had from your study? Because you mentioned the results in the end. Maybe you can sum up one or two interesting results for us.
The results are, some of them are link to the theoretical framework, because I discovered so many interdisciplinary projects in this beginning of the 20th century, and then others about the pedagogical approach, because I discovered some connections between the different perspectives of pedagogical approaches, not only from Orff-Schulwerk or dance education pedagogy, also connections with avant-garde artists or the art pedagogy. And finally, some other conclusions linked to the approach, practical approach, because I film the lessons, I take photographs, and I did a rehearsal, and I also film the reflections, the oral reflection with the children, and we extract some conclusions of these days, okay?
Thank you, Raquel. So I think we will close it, but what we also do have is a formal form for our attendants to ask questions. So we might send that to you later. So thank you for spending your morning with us. We appreciate that so much. Thank you. Can we have a round of applause for that?
Happy now to introduce Olympia Agalinou. She holds her PhD in pedagogy. Everybody knows her, of course. She studied dance therapy, Orff approach, is a researcher and educator here at the Department of Early Childhood Education, and also a specialist in Greek dance, which we had the chance to have to see a glimpse yesterday. So we are very much looking forward to your presentation. Thank you, Olympia.
Να το κλείσω αυτό, πώς κλείνει, όχι λίγο. Να το κατεβάσω κάτω.
Κλείστε.
Κάπου εδώ είμαι.
Κλείνουμε αυτό.
Ναι. Πού είμαι, κάθε γαλιανού. Οκ, το βρήκα. Just 1 minute. Okay, I think I'm ready. So welcome, thank you for being here in person or online. And before I start, I would like to express my satisfaction that our convention opens this dialogue on research and methodology, because I think that maybe this could be a handshift for the future and help us for a further development. And I feel very honored to be a part of it. The study behind today's presentation is a part of my doctoral dissertation 20 years ago. And maybe you ask why we look back. Why we spend our time today discussing a study conducted 2 decades ago in a world that feels completely different before the technology that now we take for granted reshape our world. I think that maybe this kind of reflection, I would say, can ground ourselves in the today research landscape and go further with the historical knowledge. So this presentation is something like a storytelling. Things have already changed. And it's like an autoethnography. And it's very important for me, and I decided to present this because this presentation took place during a border shift in educational research as qualitative methods began to challenge the traditional dominance of positivism then. And also back then, the debate between qualitative and quantitative methods was in a full swing. For the first time, positivism in educational research was being seriously questioned. And this research was among the earliest qualitative attempts examining educational intervention conducted in Greece. Also, this study was the first one in Greece to focus on the implementation of Orff-Schulwerk with an educational context involving field-based intervention. That is why I decided to present it to you in this convention. Of course, I began with a literature review, mainly to locate other similar researches from the international research, but according to my review, the findings of existing studies provided to be limited. Back then, the prevalent focus was either on comparing methods through experimental design, a highly threat at that time, or measuring specific skills through intervention programs, again with an experimental design, with pre-post test, control group, and experimental group, and so on. Unfortunately, this line of research has two problems. First, overlooked the teacher factor entirely. Secondly, treated that should be dynamic approaches, like Orff-Schulwerk, as rigid methodologists. So this research neglected the fundamental educational principle that who teaches is far more important than what is taught, especially in Orff-Schulwerk. However, it was during that period that the concept of teacher's personal theory started gaining traction, highlighting the importance of their unique perspectives in teaching, of course. And at this point, I would like to give you a brief overview of the study I'm referring to, and I would like then to use this study as a point to discuss about methodology and all these issues that still puzzle us then and now. So, this study focused on a specific thematic unit called Movement and Music Education, which was introduced into the school physical education curriculum in 1995. This unit was heavily influenced by Orff-Schulwerk approach. And maybe you understood this out of Katerina's speech yesterday. This unit was at this exact time, a major shift was occurred in Greek physical education, as every primary school was being staffed with its own university degree physical educator for the first time in Greek educational system, and this is very important too. In 2003, a new curriculum reinforced this thematic unit even further. At the same time, the Institute of Educational Policy decided to publish new official textbooks and teachers' manuals providing theoretical context and teaching materials. Work on the books began in 2003 and they were distributed in 2007. I did my implementation during the academic year 2005-2006 before teachers delivered the new stuff. Since I was selected through a national competition to author and oversee this specific unit in these new books, I was able to weave Orff-Schulwerk philosophy even deeper in this fabric, and I did so. But this brought me to a critical question. Were these physical educators who had been introduced into primary school just 8 years prior truly ready to support such an innovation for our system, such a creative and expressive unit in the curricula? Was the Greek primary school in general ready to support it? Because we are a system. It's not enough just to have a very nice idea. Yet, there were some other wider circumstances that triggered this investigation. First, Greece then, all schools operated under a central and closed curriculum. How a creative and expressive approach can breathe in it? It was widely perceived that school physical education was around sports, with Greek traditional dances being the only notable exception. And so, that was another problem. Third, until then, the dominant university curricula in physical education departments and sports, because they are together, in my country, provided minimal and limited courses to develop the skills that teachers want to teach primary education children and for utilizing expressive and creative approaches. For me, as a primary school teacher, then, in physical educator teacher, as a trained and active Orff teacher at the same time, and as an author of those textbooks, investigating the lived experience generated by this innovation, by this new unit of our curricula, was the only way to go forward. So I would like to say, and I'm very honest, that I did not my PhD to gain the title. I became a PhD student because I wanted to investigate this situation. And such an investigation would not be achieved through an experimental design following the positivism qualitative tradition. Even back then, as I have already told you, this was still the dominant methodological approach, and I would say that it was almost mandatory. That is why I chose ethnographic case study, allowing me thoroughly investigate the specific context within physical education, despite this put me at odds with two of my co-investigators. But this is research. The unique condition of the educational system, combined with my research question and the sheer lack of existing literature, practically made this choice inevitable. So now, the diagram on the slide outlines the various roles I held at that time. Back then, this intersection was viewed as a potential research conflict. From today's perspective, we recognize this is not a conflict, but is a core element of researchers' positionality. So that was my research. My purpose was to investigate students' and teachers' experiences, to identify, to identify facilitating and hindering factors of this unit, and of course to evaluate the achievement of P goals, because I had to do this. I used ethnographic case study, and I gathered my data through participant observations, semi-structured interviews, written reports, and then I conducted thematic analysis. So, the study involved 2 schools selected through convenient sampling, the PE teachers of these schools, and 85 third and fourth grade students. My idea, my dream, was to be a real team with the 2 educators. I wanted to bridge the gap between researchers and practitioners, because I was a practitioner too. I was in the school at that time. I did not do actual research, but because if I did that, I could achieve it. I would like to see whether other teachers could do what I had in my mind. So my idea was this: even now, to bridge all these gaps between research and practitioners, between university and schools, between educational policy and university and schools. Because if we don't work as a system, we cannot go further. So, the study spanned an entire academic year. It included observation and evaluation of the 2 settings before investigation, the intervention itself, which followed the exact duration specified by the curriculum, and the post-intervention observation. I used this observation like an evaluation again, and critically this evaluation focused not only on the participating teachers and students, but on the broader educational context as a whole. This diagram outlines the multi-layered data collection strategy I followed back then. And now, just the diagram about, no, it's a timetable, not something very, sorry, I put it like that. Yes, you're right. And then came the most critical moment of the research, the inductive analysis. I found myself wrestling with raw data from hours of observation and interviews, and many of you can understand me. Through a process of constant comparison and coding, I worked to let categories emerge to answer my research question. But Was it a true inductive analysis by today's standards? This exactly I want to examine later on. Today, thematic analysis remain at the very heart of qualitative research. However, it now has much more precise definition and various branches. Of course, it continues to be a true battle between researchers and raw data. I will only provide a brief overview of my findings, given that they belong to a different time and context. Nevertheless, this research was among the first in Greece which demonstrated the significance of the wider educational environment. And also, specifically, it identified the factors that either facilitate or hinder this thematic unit. Also, examined the alignment with physical education goals according to our curriculum. It categorized a recommendation for the future from both teachers and students, which was a true research innovation for that time. And it mapped out the key issues that needed to be investigated in order to support and foster this unit in physical education. While these findings were significant and actionable for both field work and educational policy back then, today naturally hold less practical value for our reality. This brings us to the question, how would this study be designed in today's research landscape? Furthermore, through the lens of my current role as a mentor, how would I guide my postgraduate students if they were to undertake a similar challenge? Of course, first and foremost, we should contextualize the research question for today's educational and societal needs, not change them, just update them, maybe. Regarding the research design, I would recommend a methodological synergy between ethnographic case study that I conducted with action research. Specifically, I would insist to co-create the content of the investigation alongside the teachers, allowing them to function even more as a unified research team, while the researcher would step into a role of a critical friend. Ideally, I would also welcome the involvement of an additional critical friend or two of them. Furthermore, I would strongly argue them to precisely define the research positionality. Had I this methodological offer, then I would, out of all this, I would have bypassed many challenges and many critiques I had at that time. Moving forward, I would explain in depth to my students why today we refer to data generation rather than data collection, and I will try to equip these new researchers with the necessary skills to generate rich and high-quality qualitative data. To enrich the data gathered from participant observation, I would incorporate multimodal data, and of course, I would use multimodal analysis. We have so many tools today. This would primarily include the students' musical and dance composition during class, as well as photographic material produced by both teacher and teachers. Moreover, I would replace semi-structured interviews with students with focus groups. They work much better. I think that I would also do the same, follow the same approach with the interviews conducted with the rest of the school staff in the post-observation period, because they work together, they work better, focus groups. Plus, I would replace teachers' reports with some form of reflective diaries. Turning to thematic analysis, back then I believed it was almost synonymous with inductive analysis. I was wrong. And that was only one way to do it. Today, I know that analysis can be either deductive, moving top-down from literature and research questions to codes, or inductive, moving bottom-up through an open exploration of raw data. Now, I look back and I see that what I did It was a deductive analysis and not an inductive analysis, okay, which honestly was a quite bold move for that era. But it was wrong. Today, sorry? Yes, of course. Today, we benefit from Brown and Clark's 6-stage framework. I love them, I use them a lot. And these valuable guidelines and underline reflective practices. We also have at our disposal specialized software like NVivo and Atlas that can help tackle raw data. However, in my view, these tools can never replace the critical thinking of the researcher who truly understands the specific and unique context of the study. But of course, they can help us if we like. But it's like Google Translate. We cannot use them like that, no. Deeply influenced by W. Edward Deming, I believe that formulating the right question is the most critical part of the research. In education, while the core questions have remained the same for centuries, our answers must constantly update it to reflect our changing world. To be clear, I have deep appreciation today for everything that quantitative research and statistical analysis has to offer. But at the same time, I really celebrate the progress and widespread of adoption of qualitative methods. But I would like to share a growing concept, a growing concern. Sorry, yesterday it was very difficult for me and I'm very tired, yes. As I witness the progress of qualitative methods, I also worry that they risk to become diluted and losing their rigor. So we have to be very careful with this, according to my opinion, of course. If I may offer my personal reflection, I would say, or confess or reflection, I don't know what is this, I have grown tired of seeing research driven by trivial questions which inevitably lead to cliché answers where the researcher's bias is obvious. I know that music is something good for everything, for the health, for, I don't know, yes. Personally, I'm looking for deeper connection between theory and practice. I seek research outcomes with genuine transferability, findings that can offer actionable insights and real practical help to practitioners in the field in the educational policy. I would like to clarify that I mean to help practitioners shape their own mindset and teachers' methods rather than imposing any specific content or way of thinking. But I think that we, researchers, we have to help educational policy too. And I am in a public university, I was in a public school, and I want to keep this character, this public character of our universities, so I'm struggling on it. Personally, I advocate that researchers must be familiar with diverse methodologies and choose what best fits for their specific question each time. We may not always be able to conduct both qualitative and quantitative analysis or our own, and that is why exactly collaborations exist. However, I must insist, and I insist to my postgraduate students, that building a sound research design and collaborating effectively requires a deep familiarity with both qualitative and quantitative concepts, not methods, concepts, no matter the final choice, as it always depends on the research question at hand every time. So, the best teachers, I think, that are those who show you where to look, but don't tell you what to see. I think exactly the same happens with all of us. We try to lead new researchers to, yes, I lost my words now because I'm very tired, really. Yes, to supervise the researchers that begins now their long trip in research. Thank you for your attendance.
thank you very much for this interesting insight. Also your, I think, also quite critical remarks, which I think have the possibility to get a good discussion now for some minutes. So I will open, please, yeah? We need a microphone or we can talk like this? I don't know.
No, I think they need to come to get an ice cream.
Thank you so much. That was so inspiring for me, particularly in where I see I hope to be able to do research in Ireland and promote the Orff-Schulwerk particularly. I have a practical question which I may have missed. The teachers, the classroom teachers you were working with in your original research and nowadays, are they generalists or specialists?
They're specialists. They're physical educators. And that is why I mentioned that we were in a big shift in our in the Greek physical education, because it was just 8 years prior that every school had the opportunity to have its own physical educator. That's why I worked with them. However, I think that they didn't have all the equipment they need to teach in primary school or use these creative and expressive methods. Now I think that they have them because physical education departments in Greece, their curricula had courses that can support it.
And likewise, are there for music in primary schools here? Are they specialists or is it
physical educators?
But for this, yes, but in general?
In general, yes. Each school has its own music teacher too. But each teacher has to to visit 5 schools during the week because the horarium, something like that. This is a problem, but we have these specialized teachers.
This is not a question, it's just a sort of an acknowledgement of your work. And you were talking about the connection theory and practice. And I think that this is what we really need now in the further development of the Orff-Schulwerk.
Yeah.
People like you who are able to work with children, sitting on the floor with children, playing with them, and teachers like you being able to plan, to reflect, to do action research actually, which is a very high reflective form of teaching. And somebody like you being able to look at all this from a highly theoretical perspective, using the tools of research. And I think in this context, the International Orff-Schulwerk Forum, where we have now a research committee, I find it beautiful and interesting and really promising that we are personalities like you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Doing research and doing the practice and really connecting it, because a few decades ago it was not this was not the case. It was just a very good reflective practice, but not yet research. And now we are getting there, I think. And you are a wonderful example of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to highlight this, thank you very much, Andrea, this connection. Sorry.
Thank you very much. As you know, I was inspired from your presentation because I understand exactly what you say and I believe them. But I had a question while you were talking. It is an inquisitive question. Something that I ask, and if we can discuss about it a little bit. If you think, of course, we have to have specialist teachers in school, and so we will have the arts we want in education. But because I am very familiar with the teacher-artist partnership movement that there is now, if it would be very helpful to have also programs in school where teacher and artist work together
It could be.
as a group, as a couple, I mean, apart from the specialist, of course, that has to be in every school.
Yes, Betty, this is another gap that we have to bridge. To bring art in schools, but real art. And I think that you have done a program 2 years ago, yes, an Erasmus one, and I think that it's a very good idea, students, small kids, see real artists and discuss with them and work with them. We have done a program we've done some years ago, and as universities, I think that it's another task that we have to undertake, to bring art, real art, to school. Yes, I agree.
In both ways.
Yes, in both ways. But this is educational policy too. These are something difficult. You know this because there are a lot of bureaucracy constraints. You know this better than me, and we have to. How can we say yes? To find a way to bypass them. Yes, maybe.
Thank you.
Yes. So we've been asked to close our session, so thank you again, Olympia. This was wonderful. And as Andrea was saying, we do need a lot of research to practice. And we have a wonderful roundtable session at 3:45 today in the small amphitheater, where we will be meeting about 10 researchers around the world who are doing exactly that. You know, and this is an essential part of what the research committee is tasked with. We do have quarterly meetings, so we would ask you this afternoon to sign up if you are interested in hearing about our quarterly meetings, because we do want to grow this network very powerfully about Orff-Schulwerk, elemental music, and movement pedagogy research. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you later. Oh, and then we do have the raffle. So Dr. Brooke, Sarah, and Shirley are asking us to be present for the raffle. And here comes Shirley with the raffle tickets. Oh, the raffle.